What kind of civilization do we have? There is no specific classification that categorizes a civilization of a country to the others. Just like in the Philippines, the civilization that we have can be likened to other Southeast Asian countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, and more, because basically, we share the same geographical and topographical characteristics. So our civilization cannot be really considered unique. There is no term Philippine civilization or our own civilization state. But probably, we have heard about Egyptian civilization or Chinese civilization because their civilization is unique in its own right. But in terms of economic profile, we are called developing country. For a civilization to develop and for a community or a place to be called civilized, it should have its unique 9 characteristics: agriculture, population, specialized labor, trade, language, government, shared values or tradition, religion, and architecture and artwork. Agriculture. One important factor that brought about civilization is agriculture. The Department of Agriculture is responsible for the promotion of the country's agricultural development. The DA provides policy framework, public investment, and support services needed for domestic and export-oriented businesses. Philippines is still considered an agricultural country. Agriculture plays a significant role in the Philippines economy. Involving about 40% of Filipino workers, it contributes an average of 20% to the gross domestic products, or GDP. The main agricultural enterprise is crop cultivation. The top produced crops in the country are rice, coconut, sugarcane, banana, and mango. Others are hog raising, chicken broiler production, and operation of chicken hatcheries. The general trend in the last 2 decades present a dim picture of the agricultural sector. The average age of farmers in the Philippines is 60 years old. The aging population of farmers is a threat to agriculture as well as the lack of interest of youths to it. Second is significant decrease in productivity, high production costs, and low government support to the sector, among other things, have led to crisis in Philippine agriculture. According to the 2017 survey of the Department of Agriculture, the average income of Filipino farmers is just 8,000 a month, which is below the poverty line for a very hard labor that they do. Farmers have to contend with rain and floods, then drought, loans they can hardly pay because of the seasonal trials, as well as low market prices for their produce. It's a hard life. No wonder farmers' children do not want to become farmers themselves and dream other careers. But the most essential question there is how are we when farmers are gone? What's ironic is that when we think of a highly civilized society, we think of high buildings, malls, banks, and more. But in reality, agriculture plays an important role in society because first and foremost, food is the most essential in human survival. Population. According to the 2015 census of the Philippine Statistics Authority, the population of the Philippines is 100,981,437. From 2010 to 2015, the country has an annual growth rate of 1.72%. The country ranked 13th for the most populous country in the world. Philippines is predominantly Roman Catholic. We value life, procreation, to go and multiply, and we were raised to believe that bigger is better. It is deeply engraved in our culture, the practice of extended family. Although we have to acknowledge that population is also a good thing because it is a human resource, meaning the more population that we have, the more people there is to work. But we have to find the right proportion and we should assess when enough is enough. I think that the country should address the rapid growth in population because there will be more and more people who will be deprived of the basic social needs. I believe that quality is greater than quantity. There should be more people working and lesser dependents. Specialized labor. According to the data of the Philippine Statistics Authority on April 2020, the total population of 15 years old and above was estimated at 73.7 million, but only 55.7% or 33.8 million are employed and the rest are unemployed. The employed persons were grouped in three broad sectors: agriculture, industry, and services sectors. Workers in the services sectors comprise the largest share of employed population, accounting for 57.1% or more than half of the total employed. Workers in the agricultural sector comprise the second largest group, making up 25.9%. However, workers in the industry sector made up the smallest group, registering 17%. However, in April 2020, the number of unemployed persons was 7.2 million, resulting to an unemployment rate of 17.6%. This is the record high for the unemployment rate, reflecting the effects of the economic shutdown to the Philippine labor market due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Trade. The economy of the Philippines is the world's 31st largest economy by nominal GDP, according to the International Monetary Fund, and the 13th largest economy in Asia. The country is primarily considered a newly industrialized country, which has an economy in transition from one based on agriculture to one based more on services and manufacturing. As of 2020, GDP by purchasing power parity was estimated to be at $1.01 trillion. But with the ongoing pandemic that hit most of export of goods, it will affect the business and trade. Language. Filipino is the national language of the Philippines. Filipino is also designated, along with English, as an official language of the country. Filipino is the primary language used in school and media, and its lingua franca that unites the nation's disparate linguistic communities. English is used in government, newspapers, magazines, and in business. Government. The Philippines is a republic with a presidential form of government wherein power is equally divided among its three branches: executive, legislative, and judiciary. Shared values or tradition. The Philippines is a country that has a varied cultural influences. Most of these influences are results of 333 years of colonization from Spain, then Japanese during the World War, and Americans. Despite all of these influences, the old Asian culture of Filipinos has been retained and are clearly seen in the way of life, beliefs, and customs simply because of the long history of trade to other neighboring countries like China and Indonesia even before Spaniards came. The culture of the Philippines is visible in its music, arts, and literature. Most of its music are contemporary and have also learned to write their own songs based on real-life events. Filipinos are also fond of folklore, which was influenced by the early church and Spanish literature. Jose Rizal, the country's national hero, is famous for his literature and novels inspired from independent story of the country. Religion. The majority of the Filipino people practice the Christian religion. Spain highly influenced the people to the extent that Philippines became one of the two predominantly Christian nations in the Asia-Pacific, the other being East Timor. Christianity is the religion of about 80% of the Philippine population, while Islam is 11% and other religion and beliefs comprise about 9% of the population. Architecture and artwork. The architecture of the Philippines reflects the historical and cultural traditions in the country. Most prominent historic structures in the archipelago are influenced by Austronesians, Chinese, Spanish, and American architectures. Today, the Philippines architecture came into focus through modernism. Some of the most iconic architectural structures in the Philippines are Quezon Hall, University of the Philippines Diliman, Intramuros, University of Santo Tomas Main Building, Manila Cathedral, Miagao Church, the Mind Museum, Mall of Asia Arena, and more.